What if an epidemic of the flesh-eating undead broke out and left you as one of the unlucky survivors? How would you stay alive? What would you do to make life worth living? Could a single mistake lead you to joining the zombie population? Lucky for you, there's no need to guess at a survival plan. I'm here to break down the mistakes, what you should do, and how to beat the zombie invasion in Zombieland. This college kid is about to find out that zombies aren't the only threat to his well-being. Detailing in his self-made zombie survival guide, this college kid, Columbus, explains that the United States has been overrun by an infectious plague that has turned most of the population into bloodthirsty monsters. He's made a rulebook to keep himself safe from an untimely death. Rule 1 is cardio. Without cardio, there's no way you can outrun a fit zombie. Columbus explains that a survivor must be able to handle a gun and implement Rule 2, the double tap. You never know when a zombie is truly dead, so just to be safe, shoot it twice. Rule 3. Always be careful in bathrooms. Dying on the toilet is a terrible way to go, so avoid it at all costs. Rule 4, the most basic, always fasten your seatbelts. Out of the 32 rules, his most unbreakable is rule number 17, don't be a hero. Putting yourself in danger isn't worth it. Carefully walking into this abandoned gas station, Columbus recalls the start of the zombie apocalypse 2 months ago, when Patient Zero ate a contaminated burger that sparked the nationwide epidemic. He has no idea if there are any other living humans. He follows a strict rulebook to stay alive. Now he finds himself at a bathroom door, hesitating. Just then, a hiding zombie attacks. Terrified, he fires off a shot and runs out, spotting another infected in his way. Columbus sprints back to his car, dropping his keys and being forced to circle around. He picks up the keys before realizing that the door is unlocked and getting inside would mean safety. The zombies claw at his vehicle as he steps on the gas, but he's not safe just yet. Another zombie pops out of the back seat, attacking him as he speeds away. Circling the parking lot while fighting off a zombie doesn't work out, so Columbus rams the car into a building, catapulting the creature through the front windshield. The creature stands back up, grabbing at him through the broken screen. Columbus manages to reload his shotgun and blast the zombie down. He gets out of the car and shoots it a second time, point blank, to assure it remains dead. Rule number 2, double tap, successfully used. Now traveling across the United States on foot, Columbus walks through miles of highway full of vehicles abandoned by their drivers. He's headed from Austin, Texas to Columbus, Ohio, in order to find his parents, not knowing if they're dead or alive. Then he notices a heavily fortified car headed in his direction. Running away from a potential killer, Columbus hides behind this broken down vehicle before being caught by the mysterious driver. Readying his shotgun while using a bike as protection, he watches as this gruff man, Tallahassee, points a shotgun at the kid. Columbus puts his thumb up to ask for a ride, and the man obliges, gesturing for him to get inside. The older man offers Columbus a drink, which he pretends to drink but instead throws out the window. Knowing that they're both going in the same direction, Columbus suggests a team-up. Tallahassee tells him that they'll drive to Texarkana before parting ways. Tallahassee refuses to learn Columbus's real name to avoid attachment, instead calling them both by the names of their destination cities. Okay, this is a risky move for Columbus. He's climbed into the car of a complete stranger. Let's hope that he gets out of that car alive. There's a very practical reason for Columbus's decision. Tallahassee has a car, and he doesn't. Although there is a possibility that at least one of the cars abandoned on this highway still works, so if he wanted to adhere to the stranger danger rules, Columbus could theoretically keep looking for his own vehicle. Well, except Tallahassee gives him little choice. He was practically forced into a Mexican standoff. I guess Tallahassee also doesn't trust strangers. Columbus does a great job of diffusing the situation by sticking out the universal hitchhiker thumb. Trying to talk his way out of this had a pretty high failure rate, as Tallahassee gives off an act now, think later vibe. But now these men seem to have reached a truce. Not wanting to learn the names is a bit of a red flag. Columbus tries to form a connection with his new partner, but that feeling is not reciprocated. Learning someone's name encourages a personal relationship and forces both parties to see the other's humanity. It would eventually also make it harder for one to hurt or abandon the other, because now you haven't left that guy from the highway, but rather you've left Timothy, or in this case, Columbus, Ohio. See how calling someone after a city rather than a person's name dilutes some of that effect? Tallahassee, or whatever his real name is, has the upper hand in this situation by refusing to use real names. But Columbus has at least made it a tiny bit harder to be abandoned, since he's got something on his name tag. Most importantly, Columbus is establishing a community. Well, perhaps it isn't a community yet, since it only includes one other person, but it's a start. Staying solo makes some sense in a situation where former humans are your primary threat, but having friends can lead to an easier life. In fact, there have been many cases throughout history of humans coming back more easily from a traumatic experience, like a natural disaster, when they have community connections. Knowing who to talk to and who to ask for help is often more useful than being independent or waiting for governmental help like emergency services. Plus, in Zombieland, I'm going to guess there are no emergency services left to wait for. A 2012 study done in Germany revealed that men who experienced acute stress were more likely thereafter to trust and be cooperative with others because of the feelings of vulnerability they experienced. A different study from Stanford University found in cases where the subjects were made to feel strong-willed and independent, the opposite was true. There was less collaboration afterwards. So Tallahassee is likely more willing to trust Columbus since they are both apocalypse survivors rather than if they had just randomly met in the pre-zombie days. These findings might not hold up quite the same in Zombieland, however. Both studies looked at acute stress, not chronic. This means stress that comes from a one-time event rather than prolonged stress and hardship. Zombieland seems like a place where it would be stressful to live every second of every day. That's probably why Columbus has so many rules to follow. You've got to be on your A game to excel at playing death freeze tag with the undead. Columbus's rulebook is actually quite ingenious, so maybe he should share these tips with Tallahassee, who clearly doesn't think all that highly of him. Knowing that this seeming pushover of a college kid has extensive rules and regiments that have led to his survival seems like something Tallahassee would respect. Tallahassee, on the other hand, doesn't seem all that keen on self-restraint. He doesn't care if this stranger lives or dies, doesn't care to learn their name, and has just taken a few shots of whiskey before driving down a long, zombie-themed obstacle course. It's smart here that Columbus didn't actually drink the alcohol but pretended to. He should keep a sober head on his shoulders in this very stressful situation. But at the same time, sharing alcohol is a bonding opportunity with his new partner/Uber driver. Tallahassee should at least think he and Columbus are on the same page alcohol-wise. Hopefully that will make it harder to abandon his passenger later. All of this taken into consideration, how long will this partnership last? That is difficult to discern so soon. Let's find out. They later stop at a hostess truck. Tallahassee hopes that there are Twinkies inside. They walk down the hill and kick the truck to make sure that there aren't any zombies. Coast clear, they open the back door and hit a gold mine of sweets. But not the exact type Tallahassee was hoping for. No Twinkies, only snowballs. Later, they run into this broken down car, forced to push it away to clear their route. The two discuss whether there are such things as safe zones. Columbus has heard rumors of such a place in the East. Tallahassee explains that's the way of human nature, to always long for something they don't have. He doesn't believe there is such a thing as a zombie-free zone, nor will there ever be. They continue driving along the road and find this zombie brutally eating the corpse of a human. Columbus is appalled by the sight and wishes for the world to go back to normal, but Tallahassee instead finds the situation amusing and goes out of his way to hit the zombie as they drive by. The two arrive at this grocery store while Columbus checks out his partner's selection of weapons. Tallahassee insists that they go inside to look for the last box of Twinkies on Earth. He's an absolute madman with obsession for a certain kind of snack, and nothing is going to stop him. They head into the grocery store while he plays his banjo to lure out any of the undead present. Suddenly, a fat zombie runs out and Tallahassee brutally kills him with the instrument. Columbus spots another zombie attacking from behind and slides under his partner as they team up to bash in the zombie's skull. Columbus compliments his skills before they run into an even bigger and badder creature. Tallahassee makes quick work of the big man. Then they meet this pretty lady, Wichita. She asks Tallahassee for help while Columbus makes sure to secure an exit in case they're trapped inside. Walking into the back of the store, Tallahassee finds that the girl's sister, Little Rock, has been bitten. He introduces the girls to Columbus before they huddle together and discuss her sister's condition. As they talk and try to take a step back from the situation to see things clearly, Little Rock complains about them talking behind her back and acknowledges that her time is up. She admits that they've already accepted that she needs to be killed and demands that Columbus hands over his gun to Tallahassee. Neither of the girls give either of the boys more than a few seconds to make any decisions. Tallahassee comforts Little Rock as he points his gun towards her, but Wichita stops him, asking for his gun in order to kill her sister herself. He obliges. She begins to grow weak and seems unable to pull the trigger until she abruptly turns the shotgun on Tallahassee and demands the men surrender all of their equipment. Little Rock jumps into action and collects their weapons, perfectly healthy with no zombie bites. The boys have been duped. Tallahassee and Columbus are forced to hand over their vehicle and are reduced to traveling on foot. Okay, damn! No car, no guns, no scrubs. TLC does not approve this message. This isn't a great look for our friends Columbus and Tallahassee. Surviving a zombie apocalypse takes a lot of skill, which they clearly have, but this small lapse in judgment has f***ed them over majorly. In these sorts of situations, there is safety in numbers, which Columbus seemed to recognize when he joined forces with Tallahassee. There's still a level of caution that you need to maintain to be safe. For instance, Columbus deciding not to drink the whiskey offered to him was smart. In such a dangerous and stressful environment, allowing yourself to lose inhibitions is not a good idea. It's logical to assume that Tallahassee has the same instincts, except when it comes to Twinkies. He clearly loves the sugary snack and is willing to take risks to get his hands on them. I get it. I love a good gas station treat just as much as the next person. And in trying times, such as a zombie apocalypse, you should treat yourself. Just don't do it so recklessly. As they previously stopped to investigate the hostess truck, Columbus is at least somewhat in tune with Tallahassee's cravings. While he can't magically make a Twinkie appear to offer his partner, he should try to offer him the next best thing. He doesn't love Hostess snowballs, as we have learned, but if Columbus asked him about something a bit more easily obtainable, then they wouldn't have stopped at this grocery store in the first place. Perhaps a Little Debbie brownie? I know that satisfies my hangry cravings. But all this talk about sweet treats is making me hungry and is ignoring the main problem. The boys allowed themselves to be duped by Wichita and Little Rock. Now, this predicament is somewhat understandable. They were just trying to be nice and do the helpful thing. Kill a teenager. Well, okay, nice in the context of her turning into a zombie. However, they did not properly assess the situation. Here again, Columbus seemed to be thinking a bit more clearly than Tallahassee. Before going into the back of that store, he props a door open, giving himself an easy way out. If he had applied that same logic to the stock room where the others were, perhaps he would have stood guard with his gun near an exit, just in case any of those dead bodies from out front started reanimating themselves. That vantage point would have prevented Wichita and Little Rock from easily gaining total control of the situation. Instead, he gives over his shotgun to Tallahassee, who gives it to Wichita. Even if the men agreed to kill Little Rock, Tallahassee could have used his own gun, leaving Columbus still armed, and further removed from the others, ready to take action should something go awry. What the men did right in this situation is checking Little Rock's wound. Here's an important survival tip: double check your information. It's likely that if either Tallahassee or Columbus had spent more time pressing either of the girls for details about their predicament, they might have slipped up and revealed something that indicated their lie. Perhaps conflicting details or logic holes, anything would have helped. Instead, it seemed that the men merely glanced at Little Rock's wound, accepted it as legit, and moved on. But seeing as all those involved have survived for this long in a zombie-infested world, shouldn't someone be able to discern a fake nibble from a real bite? The girls seem to understand this quite well. As Tallahassee and Columbus take time to decide their course of action, both girls shout at them, increasing the seeming severity of the situation. They easily manipulate the boys into making a rash decision. This is an expert way to run a con. Make the victim think on their feet and give them as little information as possible. Not that any of you guys would do that. Would you? Well, if the men had only spent more time investigating the situation, this betrayal could have been avoided. Later, they arrive at this town's center. Columbus finds a minivan that could be drivable, but his partner decides to blow off some steam by completely wrecking the vehicle, cursing the girls who stole his truck. That's when they find this yellow truck parked in the neighborhood house with the driver's arms still dangling from the wheel. Columbus checks out the back and the two find an assortment of firearms with fully loaded ammo. They're in luck, but things are about to get a lot worse. Tallahassee takes the wheel and insists that they find the girls to get their belongings back. He begins to open up more to Columbus during the drive. Tallahassee begins talking about what he lost to the zombies, a dog named Buck. Ever since, he's been on a mission to find a new meaning in life. His motto has become, enjoy the little things. Columbus likes the idea, so silently adds it to his list as rule number 32. The trust between the two men seems to be growing. After some driving, they spot their old vehicle and Tallahassee tells his partner to stay back, as he carefully approaches the truck and checks inside for any sign of Wichita or Little Rock. No signs at all, so he calls Columbus to drive the new vehicle over. As Tallahassee gets inside, Little Rock pops up in the back with her gun drawn. She demands that they hand over their guns, firing a warning shot right dangerously close to Tallahassee's head. He hands over the shotgun and forces Columbus to honk his horn. The older sister, Wichita, walks out from behind a barrel of hay. These boys realize that they've just been played for the second time. Even Wichita finds it hilarious and pathetic that they've robbed the same people twice. The men are held hostage by Little Rock as they drive down the road, but Tallahassee manages to disarm the girl before Wichita stops the car and aims her pistol directly at Tallahassee's forehead. Columbus panics and yells for the group to stop their constant arguing and just get to their separate destinations peacefully. Tallahassee agrees to lower his gun so they can continue their journey. Little Rock reveals that she and her sister are headed for the Pacific Playland, an amusement park on the outskirts of Los Angeles that's rumored to be a safe haven from zombies. Columbus questions Wichita for information about the current situation in Ohio. She reveals that the entire area has been destroyed, apologizing for his parents likely already being dead. That night, Wichita offers to drop him next to a truck by the side of the road. Columbus begins to leave, but his crush on Wichita and the likelihood of his parents' survival convince him to stay with the group on their journey to the Pacific Playland. Stopping at this restaurant, Tallahassee offers the others to go first, but Columbus remembers his rule to never go first and gestures for his partner to step up. Tallahassee walks in as a zombie comes rushing towards them. He hides behind the front door, shooting him mid-stride. Later, Columbus smells the perfume inside while looking and smiling at Wichita. Realizing his crush, Tallahassee walks over to question what the hell he's doing. He makes fun of the kid and turns around before Columbus sprays him with the perfume, then instantly apologizes. Tallahassee punches him and the kid stumbles back in pain, breaking a bottle of perfume. Noticing how cathartic it feels, the others completely wreck the place and leave satisfied. The group continues to talk in the car, taking turns driving and slowly connecting with each other. Columbus and Tallahassee decide to stick with the girls. Arriving in Hollywood, California, they search for a safe place to sleep. Tallahassee drives them into this gigantic mansion with the letters BM written out front. He shows them inside, revealing that it's the house of actor Bill Murray. The group can't believe what they're seeing, but Little Rock questions who the hell Bill Murray is, much to Tallahassee's disdain. They all search the house for zombies, with the group splitting up into two. Columbus and Little Rock end up in the actor's personal movie theater, and Columbus decides to educate Little Rock by showing her the original Ghostbusters, not realizing that someone is in the mansion with them. Meanwhile, Tallahassee and Wichita rummage around one of the living rooms, dancing around and listening to music. Tallahassee falls over when suddenly a zombified Bill Murray appears and greets them. Wichita runs over to whack him with a golf club before they realize that the man is talking like a regular human. Stunned and starstruck, she apologizes for the mistake. Tallahassee questions the actor about his makeup, and Bill reveals that he uses a mix of cornstarch, berries, and licorice to blend in with the zombies. Now he can secretly go outside whenever and do whatever he wants. Tallahassee freaks out, explaining that he's the actor's biggest fan and has seen all of his movies. He can't believe that Bill Murray's still alive. Bill laughs, shakes his hand, and offers them a weed-filled hookah. They play around with his Ghostbusters replicas, then begin searching for Columbus and Little Rock. Bill walks into his personal cinema and pretends to be a zombie, freaking Columbus out, who instinctively shoots the actor. Bill slumps down to his chair, severely injured. Columbus realizes that he just shot an innocent man, while Tallahassee takes a look at the wound, informing him that it can't be stitched up. The actor dies in front of them, and they wrap his body in a brown sheet, say their final goodbyes, and shoot stray bullets into the sky. Okay, this mansion has rapidly turned into a house of horrors, or maybe just a home of immense guilt for Columbus. The gang's all here at Bill Murray's humble abode. They smartly decide to scour the grounds for flesh eaters before relaxing, or at least they do briefly. After checking out just a few rooms, everyone drops their guards. Bad idea. This place is huge, and there's no way they've explored it correctly. Then the two groups independently dismiss their safety procedures in favor of goofing around. Wichita and Tallahassee decide to listen to music, disregard their weapons, and dig through the admittedly cool artifacts of beloved actor Bill Murray. After finding the home theater, Little Rock and Columbus pop on Ghostbusters because that's what you should do before securing the location in a zombie apocalypse. The characters even admit to being wary of zombies in such a huge locale, so why this sudden change? It's plausible that once the group split into two, each half was counting on the other half to finish the job. They were not able to communicate with each other since the mansion is so large, and they don't have cell phones. So how would they know if either party completed or abandoned the mission? Plus, since Zombieland is a stressful environment to live in, once again, it's logical to assume that everyone needed the opportunity to relax, and decided to do so in a place they associated with safety, the home of America's national treasure, Bill Murray, except for Little Rock, who doesn't know who Bill Murray is. The The rest of the gang associates Bill Murray with happiness, laughter, and positive emotions that lead to stress relief. This is understandable, as the actor has basically never played a villain in any of his roles. He's sort of their cinematic best friend, or maybe even a father figure. But this idea of the on-screen persona of Bill Murray doesn't necessitate the same thing towards his home. This may be a case of confirmation bias, where people recall information in a way that supports their pre-established beliefs, rather than processing new information to understand the reality of a situation. Just because Bill Murray makes you laugh at the movies doesn't mean that feeling of safety translates to physical safety from zombies in his giant Los Angeles mansion during a zombie apocalypse. Right on cue, Murray makes a very alarming appearance dressed as a zombie. Immediately, Wichita's fight-or-flight response kicks in and she beats him with a golf club. And wouldn't you do the same? Once these two realize that Murray isn't a zombie, they bond. Well, Tallahassee fangirls over the actor, then the three spend time hanging out in a slightly drug-induced manner. This seems like an opportune time to ask Murray more about his makeup routine since it seems so realistic. Hey, maybe Little Rock could use some pointers about fake zombie bites in case the sisters decide to scam other people out of their weapons and cars. And where is Little Rock? Completely oblivious to this major development, same as Columbus. Oh, right. Again, I get it. Who wouldn't want to smoke hookah with Mr. Scrooged himself? But you should inform the others of the situation and finally finish checking the area for zombies beforehand. And get everyone in on the fun Tallahassee and Wichita do, but in a twisted way. The Murray crew decided to play a joke on Columbus and Little Rock. If they had been thinking more clearly, this would have come across as a bright red flag. After all, Wichita, who seems to have suggested the prank, was the very one to take violent action against Murray's zombie costume. So wouldn't she assume Columbus would do the same? He is the most cautious of them all. It's likely that in addition to not being in the most straight-thinking mindset, that everyone here is suffering from groupthink, a psychological condition where people in heightened emotional situations reach a consensus quickly, without anyone raising concerns even though the idea is clearly a bad one. Pranking someone by pretending to be the biggest, most realistic threat that person could face? Bad idea. Meeting Bill Murray and being a survivor in Zombieland? Both are heightened emotional situations without a doubt. Put those events together and that's probably too much emotion to deal with. But this is the path our practical Joker trio have chosen to follow. The path, unfortunately, doesn't go very far for Bill Murray. However, while a beloved actor is now dead, this could have some positive implications for the group. While I personally would have chosen to not put a life in danger, as we just witnessed, the emotional turmoil and vulnerability of what has transpired could bring the group closer together. Remember that study about acute stress and cooperation? This seems like the sort of thing that could lead to such a positive outcome. And it might be what Bill Murray wanted. Maybe he never won an Oscar, but his death did bring 4 untrustworthy apocalypse survivors together. One man's trash is another man's treasure. That 21 gun salute though? We probably could have saved that. It seems respectful to a fallen comrade, sure, but it also seems like something that would have gotten the attention of any zombies nearby. But you know what? On second thought, maybe let our mourners have this moment. Catharsis is healthy. That night, they sit around the living room playing card games, discussing their favorite things about living in a world without humans. Showing rare emotion, Tallahassee begins talking about his dog Buck, whom he lost at the start of the apocalypse. Columbus notices just how much recalling this story affects Tallahassee, and it dawns on him that Bucky was not a dog, but Tallahassee's son. Columbus confronts his friend and silently reflects on the ways that the entire group lost loved ones to the zombie infestation. Later, Tallahassee teaches Little Rock how to shoot a rifle, giving her pointers on aiming and breath control. Wichita approaches Columbus with a bottle of wine, asking to help her drink it. They sit around the couch, getting to know each other and getting tipsy. They compare their experiences during the year 1997. Columbus recalls going to an 8th grade dance where no girls asked him to dance. Hearing this, Wichita asks him to dance, wrapping his arms around her and calling him cute. As they move in to kiss, Tallahassee interrupts to ask for help moving the couch, so he and Little Rock can build a pillow for it. Wichita decides that it's best if she and Columbus don't get involved romantically, saying she's only looking out for herself and her sister. The next day, they wake up to the sound of the girls storming out of the mansion. Racing downstairs, they can only watch as the girls speed off in the yellow Hummer. Columbus blames Tallahassee for completely ruining his plan to hook up with Wichita. Inside, Tallahassee tells him that there was no way they could be together, and reveals that he's planning on moving to Mexico. He discourages Columbus Columbus from pursuing Wichita, but Columbus doesn't care if he seems desperate. He loves her. The girls arrive at Pacific Playland just as sun sets and smash through the gates. They creep around the empty park, guns at the ready, but find no zombies. At the control room, Wichita turns on every switch, starting every ride, lighting every sign, and blaring music through the speakers. The girls ride an attraction without a care as a horde of deadly zombies attracted to the commotion begin to climb over the gates. As the girls swing back and forth on this Egyptian-themed ride high above the ground, they spot the massive group of flesh-eating monsters heading their way. Okay, what is going on here? It's getting ridiculous that these people keep deciding to take unnecessary precautions against the zombies in Zombieland. Maybe they're a little cocky after having survived for so long, but it was only a single day ago that they accidentally killed a human because they thought they were a zombie. So why are they so quick to forget? Let's backtrack. Since the beginning, Wichita and Little Rock have made their intentions of going to Pacific Playland very clear. They got almost no pushback from this idea at all. Little Rock even mentions that the park is a zombie-free zone, although there was always a good chance that this was merely fiction. Tallahassee even expressed doubt to Columbus well before they met the girls that there was no such thing as a zombie-free zone. To be fair, Columbus has been continually offered the option to search for his parents, and everyone seems to be enabling Tallahassee's Twinkie quest. Maybe they're all guilty of being bad influences, but this has further-reaching consequences. The bond between these sisters is strong, and Wichita doesn't want to let Little Rock down. There's also not much else to do in Zombieland besides survive and entertain yourself when the opportunity arises. Little Rock is the youngest of the group, and she has had the least amount of time in a pre-zombie world, so she deserves to let loose. But this is not the way to do that. There are other attractions that are less zombie attention-grabbing. A water park, for example. No loud rides and bright carnival signs. So they want to go to Pacific Playland? Fine. Here, though, we once again run into the issue of caution not being executed. The rumor of a zombie-free zone is pretty flimsy to begin with, and none of these characters have decided to double-check their information, which we know is a useful practice. Regardless, there are two much more thoughtful ways to go about indulging the pleasures of a theme park excursion. 1. Go to the park during the day. Since the electricity must be turned on for the rides to work, turn on only the select rides you want. Clearly in the control room that each section of the park has its own switch, but that's just the power grid itself. Most likely each individual ride and game booth has its own power switch. This is exactly what we want to take advantage of. By carefully turning on only the rides you're about to go on, you eliminate the noise from the rides you don't want to use. And now there is less of a chance the zombies will pick up on your presence. If you're using the control panels for that purpose, you should also turn off each ride after you're finished. Going to a theme park during the day gives you the added benefits of the lights being far less noticeable than they are at night. So even if you can't find a way to disable the lights, which the neon coloration is half the appeal of theme parks, so why would you want to? You're once again that much more incognito to the flesh eaters. Option 2 for going to Pacific Playland. Go at night and use your excursion as zombie bait. This is kind of what the girls are doing, but it's not intentional, which means the zombies have the upper hand. They have taken the girls by surprise while they're stuck on a moving roller coaster. At the moment, the girls are like one of those rotisserie chickens turning on a spit. However, if you were to go to the theme park at night with the entire group and all the weapons you can find, then you're in a very different scenario. The sights and sounds and meaty smells of the park will attract zombies, but instead of cotton candy and stuffed animal prizes, they'll find a fully armed quartet ready to return them to the land of the dead. Granted, this is extremely risky since there's no way to know how many zombies will come a-knockin', and it's hard to coordinate such a large scale. However, if we apply the same logic as our daytime trip, we can use the control panels of each ride to direct the zombies to specific areas of the park. This makes it easier to take out the horde by breaking them into smaller groups and controlling their movements. Let us not forget that these are simple-minded zombies and they'll go wherever the dinner bell rings. Breaking the zombies into smaller groups allows for easier crowd control. Once all the zombies are dead, then you can ride your heart out on all the coasters, but it is best to kick out the unpaid visitors first. Tallahassee tells his partner that he's not heading after Wichita, leaving the man to go chase after his crush on his own. The girls run back to their truck, being pursued by dozens of zombies. Making it into the vehicle, Little Rock insists that they go now while a zombie smashes his head through the right door window. Wichita manages to get the truck working and more creatures pile onto the vehicle. She drives towards the pier and instructs her sister to jump out as the car bursts through the railing and falls into the water, taking the zombies with it. Wichita picks her little sister up, grabbing their weapons while watching as an endless amount of zombies run towards them. Little Rock points out a high vantage point to take shelter. They run back as Wichita fires off shots to keep the horde back, but they're still hopelessly surrounded by flesh-eating zombies. Meanwhile, Tallahassee says goodbye to Columbus. He won't help to try and find Wichita and Little Rock. Columbus drives off on a motorcycle and crashes into the curb. Seeing this, Tallahassee shakes his head, drives over, and invites his partner to go rescue their friends. Across town, the girls shoot a few creatures. Little Rock points out a death drop ride that they can gain leverage from the zombies on. They buckle in and switch it on, being thrown up extremely fast before dropping down towards the dozens of zombies waiting for them below. At the bottom, a zombie grabs Little Rock's leg. He flies upwards and falls off while Wichita suggests that they shoot the control box to disable the ride in midair. Little Rock fires off multiple shots before remembering her training from Tallahassee and taking a long breath and perfectly aiming for the control box. She disables the ride so the two are suspended high above the zombies, safer but not out of the woods yet. That's when the boys reach Pacific Playland, seeing that the others are in a terrifying situation and need help now. Tallahassee drives them inside the amusement park. He spins donuts with the car while firing heavy ammunition at the zombies, taking them all out. After shooting them, he takes the time to drive over to the seemingly dead bodies to make sure that they're dead. They arrive at the girls' vehicle floating in the water. Columbus panics, thinking that the girls have killed themselves, but then he hears their screams from across the park. Tallahassee gets out of the vehicle and loads himself with all the weapons he can carry, then blows an air horn and yells as loud as he can, making himself a decoy. The zombies pay attention and begin to abandon the girls on the death drop in favor of this new target. Most of the zombies leave, but a few begin to scale the death drop as Little Rock and Wichita use their remaining bullets to try and stop them. Tallahassee runs over to a spinning ride and hangs from it, shooting zombies while flying through the air. Columbus watches in awe, then realizes that he's also being chased down. Columbus fights off the horde as he's chased into a haunted house. He walks through the attraction while hearing terrifying sounds, not knowing if they're real or fake. Suddenly, this zombie jumps onto him. He manages to shoot it in the head. Meanwhile, Tallahassee hops on a roller coaster and rides through the loops, shooting each zombie he can. He quickly becomes overwhelmed by the horde and gets off the ride, shooting a few more creatures, and makes his way towards a toy booth. He jumps inside and makes his final stand. Hundreds of zombies rush towards the booth as he picks them off with dual pistols. Okay, unfortunately Wichita and Little Rock didn't use TripAdvisor to plan this outing, and now they're stuck on a death drop where death is really waiting for them below. Lucky for them, Tallahassee had a change of heart and agreed to go aid them along with Columbus. Aww, this is such a big moment for Mr. Tough Guy, and we should celebrate his growth. Tallahassee bursts into Pacific Playland with the right idea: be a distraction. He immediately calls attention to himself and draws the zombies off Little Rock and Wichita. Doing this gives them a chance to get off the death drop and actually be of use in this zombie ambush. Columbus is rightfully impressed by Tallahassee's skills, as he does extreme parkour by shooting the zombies from a spinning ride. It would make a little more sense, perhaps, for at least one of the boys to stay inside their car and use it for both protection and as a weapon. Seeing as how mere moments ago they used slick driving and firearm skills to pick off some of the undead, why not repeat that maneuver? Tallahassee seems capable of handling himself and using his environment to enhance his performance. But Columbus might be better off in the car. Have one person act as the human decoy and the other take out some zombies by running them over. Doing both of these things still distracts the zombies from the girls on the death drop, but would decrease the likelihood of someone getting bitten since there is a car between a zombie's mouth and a human's flesh. Since they didn't do this though, going inside an attraction seems unwise. You wouldn't want to enter a place you didn't have a good vantage point with clearly defined exits. The problem with this haunted house is that not only are there plenty of distracting noises, but you also have low visibility because of the design of the attraction, and once inside there are only 2 exits, both of which the zombies chasing you would also be using. Hopping on a roller coaster is a better, if not also nauseating idea. What Tallahassee has done correctly is given himself a very open plane of sight to shoot zombies from, as well as staying on the move. It is harder to kill what keeps moving. Perhaps your biggest threat here is holding in your own vomit from being tossed around so much. Columbus makes it out of the haunted house and rushes over to the girls who are about to be bitten. Wichita manages to kick a creature off her, but they can't hold off for much longer, and this gigantic clown is standing in Columbus's way. He realizes that his rulebook needs to be broken for the first time, deciding to be a hero. He looks over at this hammer while a clown zombie rushes towards him. He whacks the zombie in his groin, then smashes its head into the concrete. He runs over to the girls, still suspended in the air, and turns the machine off, sending the final zombie crashing to his death and saving them all from certain death. They escape, and Wichita gives him a hug, revealing her real name is Krista. Columbus kisses her as Tallahassee looks on proudly. Walking away, Columbus enters this convenience store selling deep-fried Twinkies to see his partner furiously destroying the place. That's when he hears a thudding noise and fires a shot off into the back door. They slowly open it to reveal that it's only a group of rats, and Tallahassee realizes that his partner just shot the final box of Twinkies in America. Before Tallahassee can finally give Columbus a punch, they hear engines revving outside. They run out to see the girls yet again driving away with all their belongings. But this time the car stops, Little Rock pokes her head out, and tosses Tallahassee a perfectly preserved Twinkie. He relishes the smell before devouring it. Wichita leans out from the driver's seat and tells the boys to hop in. The trio rides off into the night, victorious, safe from zombies, and Twinkie satisfied. But what do you think? How would you survive Zombieland? Let me know with a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe, and check out the How to Beat playlist for more videos like this. And don't forget that from now on, we'll be uploading on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Until next time, have a damn good day.